Hey, welcome to the video. In this one, I want to break down what to focus on over the Christmas period. If you're an offer owner, you have a high ticket offer, maybe you've noticed that the kind of Christmas, New Year's period tends to be slow, and you're in a kind of position of like, do I just turn things off, take the hit, save that ad spend, and focus my energy in the new year? Or do I just spend more, get applications through, but know that the shop rate is going to be lower? It's going to be a lot more expensive to get an application, and I'm going to hear a lot more objections on sales calls. Now, for us, what we did last year was really effective. We did it ourselves and we did it with a big client in the creator space. And I'm going to be doing this again myself this year. And it's what we're setting up for several clients right now, which is a low ticket ascension funnel that builds a list of customers over the Christmas period. You can have it running in the background so you don't need to be working and taking time away from your family. You can focus on building this now, run it through the Christmas period so that come January, you're in a really, really good position. Because what happens a lot of the time is we get to like January, 3rd most of the time. I think it's actually Jan 5th this year, which is like the first Monday of the year, which is where really, people go back to work. That's where things properly kick off, right? So Jan 5th, and then people sit there kind of questioning, like, what do I actually focus on in my business right now? Either, if they had a funnel running previously, they relaunch. If they have a sales team, they're following up leads who probably haven't been contacted in 2 weeks plus, right? So if they were not very warm prospects, they've probably completely forgotten who your business is, who you are, who the business is, who the salesperson is. That's really hard. And then the other thing that's happening as well is, and this is common as well, is like brands, new ideas, and then you're going into like build mode, right? And then what happens is you end up by the end of January getting some appointments booked. And then really January ends up being a write-off. So we end up having like low sales in Jan, which is obviously, it's a slow start to the year. That's not good for you as a founder and an offer owner. It's not good if you have salespeople. It's like quite a negative way to start, right? You want to start with momentum. So if you want to have a successful Q1, that starts in December. That starts now, like not 25th of Jan. It starts start of December, and ideally before this if you've already been doing the groundwork. But if you haven't, don't worry, because I'm going to show you what you can be doing, what we set up last year, we had running in the background. And basically, if you watch my last video, I talked about this, but we generate anywhere from 5 to 10 sales a day for our low ticket offer. When we scale things up and things are really dialed, and last year we were doing like 10 to 20. At Christmas time, I found like the cost per sale actually dropped significantly over the Christmas period. And we were actually getting, double the amount of sales for the same ad spend. And so there's a couple of scenarios, right? Let's say scenario one is you focus on brand and list building. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but it's going to cost you money now. And then you can recoup it in the new year, right? So you're basically taking the hit now, which means you're probably going to limit your spend because you're not going to want to just go and spend a ton of money on brand awareness campaigns, unless you have millions in the bank and you're a massive business, which if you're watching this channel, you're probably not. You're probably trying to do things lean. You're probably trying to do things efficiently, right? So that's option one. Does work, but it can be slow. And I'm not saying that you can't make sales in this period. Like you definitely can. It's generally a lot slower than typical month. Option two is do nothing. And, kind of what we talked about above, then like restart in Jan. So basically, whilst you are not maybe spending money on ads, you are taking a hit, right? There's a cost of inaction involved because now you've grinded things to a halt. And inertia is hard to get out of, right? When you're static and you're not moving, it takes a lot of energy to move versus when you have momentum, it generally is easier to kind of keep things going and make slight adjustments rather than trying to get things moving from zero. So what I'm suggesting here is you essentially grow a list of buyers. So we're still doing what we're doing in number one. We're growing a list of buyers, instead of leads. So you're going to get less people, right? Let's say you spend the same amount on ads. You're definitely going to get more leads if it's like a free lead magnet versus say, a low ticket offer. However, they're going to be a lot more engaged with the low ticket offer. So you're going to grow a list of buyers. And then as a byproduct, right, if you follow some of the Instagram strategies I talk about, you're going to get a lot of brand awareness. And I'm going to show you how to set this up in a second. But this is great as well. We have a client starting next week with us, a new growth partner who saw one of my low ticket ads. They actually didn't buy. They messaged me because they saw the ad and they were just interested. And then they started watching my YouTube, my content. And then we just had a conversation in the DMs. We had a couple of calls and they ended up coming on as a partner and starting literally next week. That's the power of brand awareness, right? And we can capitalize on that whilst we run this funnel as well. So there's two ways you can do it. You can go completely direct response, which can work, right? Which is basically you just run ads directly to a sales page, and then we usually aim for about 5% conversion. That varies depending on the offer. Like for us, we're usually between 5 and 8%. It varies week to week, but 5% conversion, and then you might have some order bumps or upsells. And that's where you're liquidating ad spend, right? That can work. And then basically back end, you're just growing the email list with buyers. You can also get SMS here as well. I'll mention that as well. Option 2 is we run an ad and it's a brand awareness campaign. So what we typically do is run these as follower ads on Instagram. There are other ways you can run brand awareness campaigns as well. You can do video view campaigns. That's like more of an old school strategy. That works better on Facebook because you can't really do, there's no such thing as a follower ad on Facebook. You can do page view campaigns, which aren't very good on Facebook. So, you can do video views if you're running Facebook. If you're doing Instagram, follower ads work really well for brand awareness. But then what we can do within the follower ads is we can pin a CTA post on the page, which has the call to action to actually go and get the lead magnet or the low ticket offer in this case, right? So I have it on my page as well, where literally the first post on my page is talking about my low ticket offer. And on average, I get one person a day comment that and buy, right? Usually like 2 or 3 people will comment. Not everyone will click the link and buy, but they'll go through and buy because they're interested, right? So it's indirect, and you're not going to get all of your sales this way. But you're also getting followers, you're getting brand awareness whilst you're doing it. And then what we're doing is we're actually going a lot heavier on retargeting. So this is where you're doing what we're doing above, which is you'll go directly to a sales page. So there's pros and cons to both. The top one, you are probably going to have a bit more predictability over your numbers. You're going to get less reach, so less brand awareness, but potentially more sales in the short term. The brand awareness campaign into this strategy. So if you're running follower ads, if you're running a brand awareness campaign, you're doing retargeting, then what I have noticed is you get higher upsells. So higher AOV. So it's kind of like a trade-off. It's like, do we want pure volume in terms of sales? So the front end, you're probably going to get more of the front end sales. Our low ticket offer, if you're not familiar with it, if you haven't seen my ads or you haven't watched my previous videos, is we have a $5, it's technically $4.97 playbook. So $4.97. So if we just focus on volume, we're just getting people who buy the $4.97. That's totally fine. We're still growing our email list with buyers. We're still getting the list, free volume through. But we might be negative on ad spend, which isn't the worst thing in the world because we're still recouping ad spend, but we might not be break even. Now, if we're focused more on AOV, that's where we're going to get a higher, percentage of order bumps and upsells, right? There's different ways you can do this. You can do it where you literally just have order bumps on the checkout page. So they go to buy the $4.97, and then you have like bump 1, bump 2. Technically right now we just have one order bump. We're probably going to add a couple in over Christmas as well because we're not focused on booking calls in this time. As I'm saying, we're focused more on increasing, just break even and making profit on the low ticket. Order bumps, once they buy this, that we can have a one-time offer on a, usually it's just like a quick purchase. They just press a button and it auto bills their account. So we have that on there as well. So technically, it's a $27 offer right now. We're probably going to increase that, which increases the AOV. So this is an AOV game. You're going to get less volume, but you're going to get higher quality. When you do the follower ads or the brand awareness campaign, you retarget more with this. The reason is, if you think about it like this, we're going cold versus warm, right? So if you're doing the direct to sales page strategy, people are coming through, they're seeing an offer, they've probably never seen you before, they're seeing an offer, they're clicking through, they're making an impulse decision, right? It's very easy for them to say, okay, yeah, cool, I'll buy something for $5. I kind of like the looks of that. It's a bit harder for them to buy something that's like $30 to $50, right? They have to think about it a little bit more. And especially if your upsells are like, anywhere up to like 97, we've had them all the way up to $300 for clients as well. That takes a little bit more decision making unless they're like super rich, right? The average person doesn't just click on an ad and buy something instantly for $300. However, if somebody's seen multiple pieces of your content, right, on Instagram, maybe they've clicked through a link, maybe they've gone to your YouTube channel, maybe they're interacting with you in the DMs, right? There's different things that can happen within a warm audience. Then they see an ad for your low ticket offer. They're a lot more likely to not just get the initial offer, but actually trust you to buy the upsell as well. Because like, I like this person, I like what they're about. Their content, helps me internalize a lot of my beliefs around what I think I need to be doing, what I need to do to progress and solve my problems, right? This isn't all conscious, by the way. This is going on in the back of their mind. So they're more likely to increase their AOV. And we've tested this a lot over the last year and a half. And so I have a lot of data on this, but I typically do a bit of both. So again, it doesn't have to be like one or the other. You just do follower ads or you just do direct to sales page. We typically do both, and how we do it at the moment, this may change over time, is we split the budget top of funnel 50-50. So we might spend, let's say for example, we might spend like easy maths, $50 on follower ads. So we might have like anywhere from usually I don't really spend less than $10 a day on a follower ad. It's kind of a waste of time. So we might have like 5 ads running on follower ads. And then we might have, say, $50 on different ads direct to sales page. And then usually I aim for around 10%, 10 to 15% of the top of funnel budget for retargeting. So in this case, that would be $10 to $15 a day on retargeting. Sometimes I'm a bit aggressive with it. So if I have a day where I log in to Ads Manager and I'm like, okay, we've only spent $20 today and we've already made, say, $100, which can happen some mornings. I log in and I'm like, okay, we're already like up massively. Then what I might do is actually just push the budget like pretty aggressively for that day. And then it spikes for a day or two. And then I might turn those ads off, because generally what happens if we get a quick spike is it will drop very quickly as well. So we lose all the profit. So we can be tactical on the day-to-day with that as well. That can work very well. Retargeting only works if you have a good amount of people coming through the top end. So if you can actually start this, if you have an organic audience, you could actually start with the retargeting and then layer in the direct to cold afterwards if you want as well. And the same with the follower ads. If you have like literally no audience, or like you've got a few hundred followers, but they're all the wrong people, then obviously you're going to need to start with cold traffic and warm people up. This can happen really quickly as well. Like you could launch a follower ad and retargeting the same day, and somebody can see your content. Because if you run a follower ad, you're not just reliant on one ad. The whole point of a follower ad is they're clicking through to your profile. So if you think about your Instagram account, you have your profile and your feed with all your different content. If they click through an ad, which is technically a content piece, if it's a follower ad, they click through to your profile, maybe they watch like 3 videos. Maybe you have, I realize this is on the wrong side here. Maybe they watch your stories and see some like behind the scenes and they resonate with you as a person. Maybe you have some highlights which have some results. So now they're like, okay, this person actually gets results, right? Maybe you have a CTA or a link in your bio. So this is what I do as well. If you look at my account, if you click on my call to action, I'm not selling anything here. I'm taking people to my YouTube. And my YouTube channel is very niched, so I don't get loads of followers, but I'm driving traffic from Instagram a lot of the time. I do get organic traffic as well, but for the most part, I'm trying to get people warm to my YouTube channel. Like my YouTube channel is really about going deep on different topics, right? This video, for example, is like quite nerdy. It's not going to go viral, and it's very specific, so it's not going to be mass appealing. But for the right person, it's valuable. So people watch my YouTube content, and then maybe they click off and like, okay, cool, that was good. They disappear, they go about the day. Later in the day, they've been pixeled, they've been to my account, they've followed, they've engaged with the account. Now they're seeing different ads. And I talked about this in my last video, but we're not just running one retargeting ad, we're running them on different placements, right? So if you think about how Instagram works, it's quite a dynamic platform. There's not just one thing with a news feed. We have stories, which is a lot more intimate. We have the news feed, which a lot of the time people are kind of going through on silent. So we have to think about that. It's like, well, if people are going through on silent, we don't want to be two talking head videos there. We have Reels, which usually auto plays audio. So that can be a place where we do talking head. We have Explore, where people are looking at thumbnails more. It's a bit more zoomed out. It's very fast paced. It's very kind of just surface level. So this is where we can be a lot more direct with our ads. If you ever see any of my Explore ads, sometimes they're literally just text on a screen and it's just like one sentence driving people back to that. My stories tend to feel a bit more intimate. It's more behind the scenes. It's sharing quick wins. It's sharing insight. The reels tend to be a bit more educational. I'm actually not running many talking heads at the moment. I tend to do a lot more B-roll just because they're easier to create, and I feel like I've got a bit of a style with my B-roll, which people, they recognize. Like people say, like, "Oh, I see your B-roll stuff all the time," so I just stick with that because it's for me. I enjoy creating content like that. I don't like doing short form talking head that much. I find it a bit of a pain in the ass. Something I'm working on, but I focus more on B-roll. Maybe you're really good at talking head and you want to do those. Like that can work as well. But this is how it works, and this is how, come January, let's say you run this now for the next few weeks and you scale it up a bit as well. Let's say come January you have 100 200 people on your email list who have paid you money. This is infinitely more valuable than the same amount of people that have just opted in for a free thing, right? Even if it's just $5, the intent is completely different for somebody who's given you money. Now, let's say you've done this and you have content on your Instagram, you've structured this the right way. This is what we call a conveyor belt. I won't go into too much detail on this. I'm going to talk about this a bit more in my next video. But a conveyor belt is like, it's not just a funnel where it's, typical funnel is like buy or die, right? So you come to the end of the funnel, they make a decision, they buy something or they take an action, like they book a call, or they disappear forever, right? That's like a lot of people's marketing is terrible because they don't look at anything other than just like this singular journey. Whereas what happens with a lot of people, myself included, we are human. We have a lot of thoughts and emotions, and there are things going on in our day, and we might even be busy. We might even be moving, right? We might be on the move when we're reading stuff. We might be on our phones when we're waiting for transport or in a queue or just doing something, even walking. You see people like walking around just on their phones. So if you're doing that, or if you've got things going on, if I start doing something and then like somebody messages me or my wife walks in and there's things going on, I get distracted, then I'm not going to make a decision right now. So there needs to be a way to keep me engaged with the business that I'm looking at. And that's why we build a conveyor belt. So a conveyor belt, if you're not familiar, if you go to a supermarket or even an airport, right, just with baggage, it's just always moving. So you put something on the end of the conveyor belt, it moves to the end of the conveyor belt automatically, right? So it's moving from left to right. It's progressing. And you can build this and speed this up and progress this with YouTube content, with email, with one-off events that can be challenges. We do quite a lot of live webinars for clients as well. It's a big strategy we're going to be focusing on to capitalize, right? So we build this list of buyers now come January, it's like, okay, what do we do with that list? Well, you can just do an email blast. That's fine. That works. You can do some story sequences in your Instagram content. You can do retargeting ads. These all work. But what we can also do is we can accelerate through, let's say we do a live webinar, let's say we do a live challenge, right? These are all things that work well for educational offers. If you have a service business, let's say it's an agency offer, then what we can do is we can just do a direct call offer, but we make it really valuable, right? We package the call in a way where there's scarcity, like we're only taking on a few people. There's value. So things like an audit work really well for B2B. Like come on the call and we're going to look at X, Y, and Z, and you're going to walk away with this, right? You're not even selling anything at that stage. You're giving value on the call rather than just book a sales call, right? These are all kind of different strategies you can utilize. And typically we're not doing this Jan 6th, right? When we're starting the year, we're doing this kind of the last week, the last few days of December, Jan 1st, Jan 2nd, so that when you start back up on Jan 6th or Jan 5th, whenever it is, that Monday, you have people reaching out for your offer. You have calls booked in the diary. If you have a sales team, then they're packed out, right? The work starts now for what happens in January. If you get to January 6th and you're like, okay, what do I build now? Then you're going to be slow in January and you're not really going to start taking off till February, maybe even mid-February. So if you have big goals next year, a lot of the businesses we work with are already at 7 figures. They're trying to scale to, if they're doing 100K, usually it's around 2 to 300K a month. If you're maybe a bit lower, maybe you're at 30 or 50K and you're trying to hit 100K a month, right? Then you need to be doing the work now. Like this isn't going to work if you're trying to launch this off the back foot next year. This is also the perfect time because whilst people aren't investing as much in high ticket this time of year because they're switching off, especially B2B, right? They're thinking about, I'll do this in the new year. People are buying stuff, right? This is the biggest time of year for retail because people are going out and they're spending money. So if you have something that's $5, that's $20, that's $50, people can buy that. People are going to buy it now. They're going to join your email list. And then you have a pool of people who haven't just asked for something for free. They've given you money. They've trusted in you. And as long as the product that you've delivered is actually good, right? That's a whole nother story. It needs to actually be decent and positioned right. Then you're going to start January in a really, really good position. And I'm going to talk later. I'm going to talk next week about the conveyor belt in a lot more detail. But if this is something you're interested in, you have an offer, you know that your Decembers tend to be slow, you know that coming into January it's usually a bit slow, and you want to get momentum without doing a ton of work because this can run in the background whilst you do take time off. You want to hit the ground running in January, you want momentum, then we're building this out for 2 more people this month. We're already building this out for our existing clients, but we're going to build this out for 2 more people this month. If you're watching this live, like when this comes out now, there are 2 spaces available. If you're watching this in like a month or 2 months time, then chances are like we might not be offering this anymore. But if you want help with this, I'm going to put a link below. You can DM me on Instagram. We can have a chat. I'm not here to hard sell you on anything. Like if this is not a fit for your business right now, I will tell you straight. But if this is something that could work for your offer, then I'll break down kind of some ideas of how that could work. We can have a quick chat and then we can build this out very quickly to get this launched, ready and going within the next 7 days, running ads, having all the retargeting, having the follower ads, having everything set up so that you're making sales every day. You have people joining your email list. Maybe they're coming through to your YouTube, your Instagram's growing. And then come January, we have a strategy in place as well where we help you build out, whether it's your webinar, whether it's an email sequence, whether it's retargeting, whether it's challenge, we build that out with you as well so that you have a launch strategy coming into January so you can hit the ground running, make loads of sales and have momentum coming into the new year whilst enjoying Christmas. Like for me, I'm going to be enjoying my Christmas, my New Year's with my wife and her family. And so, that's what I want for you as well. I think a lot of entrepreneurs can't take that time off. And I know a few years ago, it was the same for me because I didn't have any systems in place. And so if you want to build this system now to launch you into the new year, right? This isn't just about making some quick sales over December and January. This is to set you up and keep this running evergreen and scale it coming into 2026. If you want that, then check the link below, message me on Instagram. If not, I will love you and leave you in the next one. I'll see you next week. Peace.